So I've got another project on, and I have need for my heavy duty ring roller, which I made myself here. And when I started using it on this pretty big metal, the top ram, hydraulic ram, started leaking, which lubricated all the metal and also meant there was an uneven pressure on the top roller. And that's no good because it doesn't give you a circle, it gives you a spiral. So Nigel kindly donated this vintage cider press that he got from a farm sale. What we're doing here is cutting out the top frame so we can liberate that thread. And that thread is designed to put pressure on things, so it's ideally suited to our application. So a little bit of heat to get this knurled and threaded cap off. There's a spring in here and a cup seat. Ooh, very beautifully made. And use some sort of 3-foot long Stilsons just to break that rust seal off. And now the idea here is I can cut off this bottom threaded cup, face it off on the lathe to make it nice and square, and weld it onto the frame that goes on the roller so that this thread can exert pressure on the roller. Essentially, a ring roller has 3 points of contact, and you move the top one up and down to alter the curve that you're trying to create and therefore make a ring. So there we go, that's it welded in the ring roller frame. Let's give it a go.
That works a lot better. It's quite cold out here, but it doesn't feel like it. That's hard work, but that is thick. That's 12mm by 5-inch solid steel. It has, bless it, rolled it into a ring, or rather I have. But that's just a trick. But by God, does that take some turning.
I then discovered why the rollers took so much turning. Right, so these are the old bearings that sit on the roller. They sit in these little cups so I can move the rollers about. Here's a new bearing. The new bearing's smaller, so need to machine the spindle down to fit these new bearings, which will be much better. That's the state of the old bearings. Actually, the rollers have actually rolled the bearing. Work fine, but they're not supposed to do that. So over to the lathe, machine those down and start using the new bearings. So what had been happening is I was needing to use my hand and my foot to turn the top roller to pull the metal through the machine, and it was rolling fairly nicely, but I had noticed that the metal was steering to one side, and it was because the bearing had collapsed and another one wasn't far behind. Anyway, the rollers are now back on the lathe, machine down the OD to fit the new bearings, and then over to my homemade hydraulic press to seat them on the rollers so that they can't come off. This is an interference fit. So there we go, that's it, all built back up, ready to roll. And by God, what a difference that made. One arm, yes, okay, it's a little bit of resistance, it is pretty thick metal, but this is transformationally different from how it was before. And yeah, so much more satisfying to use. You feel like you're actually in control of it, opposed to hanging on for dear life and just forcing it to do what you want it to do. But there we go, it is rolling rather nice rings. The thread there makes it a lot easier to control, and of course the block and tackle makes it all the easier to take it out. So follow along to see what I'm making.